Okay, so welcome everyone. It's the third day, and today we are going to focus on Agile. And the whole point here is to ensure that we now are beginning to see how Lean and Agile can work together in order for us to deliver customer value. Now, there's so much to learn in terms of, Agile, how Agile can be applied. But of course, this is just a 1-hour session, so I've had to come up with a creative way to ensure that by the time we're done today, we walk away truly understanding what we mean by, the Agile way of working. So a quick question here. Are we familiar with the waterfall traditional Agile project management methods? For example, Prince2 or PMP. If you can just type that in the chat box, which project management methodology are you familiar with? In the chat box, please. For example, Prince2, PMP, which are all forms of waterfall anyway. Okay, PMP, okay, Prince2, okay. Somebody saying both. Okay, fantastic. Okay, cool. So we have a few people in the house who are familiar with the traditional waterfall method. Okay, so essentially, we're trying to move away from the traditional waterfall approach to project management to the Agile way of managing, or should I say, delivering products. That is not to say that waterfall works for everything, but where we have situations where requirements are very dynamic, we want to use Agile. So we're going to use a case study. We're going to use a case study to achieve that understanding. So if you can just take, I think, a minute or two, let's just read through this. Let me just minimize that. Okay, let's together read through this. So I'll read aloud for everybody. University of London Bridge, of course, this is hypothetical. University of London Bridge is 110 years old. It is a great institution that has been successful over the years. They are still operating the old-fashioned way with paid media advertising. In the last 5 years, there has been a steady decline in admissions at a rate of 7% annually. However, with a new in place, it was decided at the last strategic meeting that it is time for LBU to go digital. As part of their digital transformation, one of the major requirements is to have an online presence. In other words, they want a website and a social, and they want to be on social media pages. This is the case study we're going to work with. It's a hypothetical one, but it will do. So this is what we're going to engage in right now as a simulation. Using a hypothetical case, we will simulate how this project can be delivered using both the traditional waterfall project delivery approach and the Agile approach. So let us very quickly look at what the waterfall approach looks like. Now, if we're going to deliver this project using the traditional PMP or Prince2 approach, it's going to look something like this. We would obviously have, gone through some kind of feasibility, knowing that this can be done. We will be planning. Once the planning is done fully, as much as possible, we'll then move on to the design phase. Once the design is done, we move on to build, to test, to production, and eventually, when you have your website in production, definitely it needs to be supported, okay? Now, let's make an assumption here that this project is going to take 9 months. Of course, developing a website these days doesn't take 9 months, but just for the benefit of our session, let's assume this project, the delivery of this website is going to take 9 months. So which means in 9 months' time, assuming this project starts, say, next week, Monday, in 9 months' time, we will have a fully functional website delivered to the university. Okay, that is what we will have in 9 months' time. So what will that look like? So in 9 months' time, we will have something like this for the university. A fully functional website delivered 9 months later. Okay, 9 months later, because we're using the traditional project management approach, where we engage with the business, we try as much as possible to gather all the requirements that we need in order for us to ensure that we develop a fully functional website. This is doing it the traditional way, and this is what the university will get 9 months later. As you can see, we have all the tabs: about us, admissions, research, alumni, all the, sort of features you would want on a university website. Now, what is the problem with this approach of delivery? We engage with the customer at the beginning and again at the end. That is usually what happens in a traditional waterfall environment. Value is delivered 9 months later. We see the deliverable, in other words, the full deliverable, for the first time in 9 months. Huge chance of failure and quality issues. These are quite possible. There's a high chance that this project might fail. There's a high chance that we will have a lot of quality issues with this project. This project, by the time it is delivered, may no longer meet our needs because things have moved on. It's been 9 months, okay? And it might end up being quite expensive. We may incur, more costs. And of course, it takes longer to fix problems, because imagine us getting this website 9 months later and then only to find we have problems here and there. And then we have to go back and fix that problem, okay? So it takes much longer. So these are some of the typical problems that you would have when you use the waterfall approach to deliver digital products, essentially. So when we talk about using the traditional project management approach, what is really happening is this. We are working in silo, okay? So we have people working on, somebody or, a group of people working on the plan, and that is all they do. And once they are done with the plan, they push it over to design, and on it goes. Done with the build, push it over to test, push it over to production until it gets to production and it goes live. We call this working in silo. In other words, collaboration between these different people in these different phases is not optimal, okay? And the waterfall approach is also an approach that is plan driven, okay? It is not value driven. It is plan driven, and success in this environment is determined by the fact that we are following the plan. So we made a plan 9 months ago to develop a website. Things may well be changing for the client, but we are not factoring those changes into our plan. We have a rigid plan that has been baselined, and we're going to follow this plan. And in this kind of environment, following the plan is what determines success. And of course, we're waiting to deliver 9 months later. For those of you who are familiar with PMP and Prince2, you would know that Gantt chart is so important in that kind of environment. And with a Gantt chart, what are we doing? We're tracking the project. We are tracking the plan. We are ensuring that, the commitments we have made, the milestones that we have set, that we're able to achieve that. So as you can see here, we have 100% done, 75% done, and we have, the timelines over here. So this Gantt chart is usually quite important in a traditional project environment. And it is task-oriented. It is about tracking completion. It is not value-oriented, okay? We are not asking, have we delivered value to the customer? What we are just saying is, have we completed all the activities? So it is activity-driven, not value-driven. It's very important you take note of those two. Activity-driven, not value-driven. So talking about Agile, Agile is great, but it's not a silver bullet either, okay? So for example, if you were to build a house or you were to build a bridge, in the construction industry, PMP and Prince2 is still very, very relevant, because these are projects that you literally have to do in a linear fashion. You want to build a house, you have to do the foundation first, okay? You can't start with the roof, you can't start with the walls. So there are some projects that still lend themselves to the waterfall approach, the traditional way of managing projects. So essentially, PMP and Prince2 or any other type of bespoke traditional waterfall methods will still lend itself to projects that are relatively stable. projects that are relatively stable, where the requirements, very rarely changes, So for example, as a mother of four, if I engage an architect and a builder to build me a 5-bedroom house, there's a very high chance that's what my requirements are, and it will never, it probably wouldn't change. My requirement will remain the same. So in an environment where things happen linearly and where requirements rarely change, these methods still are very, very important. So Agile is not a silver bullet. So I need you to remember that. However, for IT projects, okay, Agile, the waterfall method doesn't really work well, okay? Because IT projects are very volatile. Things are changing and they're changing fast all the time. And that's why in the 80s and 90s, there were a lot of epic failures, because what happened was IT was new to everybody in the 80s. It was new. And people just naturally started using what they already knew. I mean, there's a saying, if all you have is a hammer, you're going to see everything, like a nail. So we naturally just started managing IT projects with, our traditional project management methods. But the problems that, sort of emerged in this environment was the fact that there were a lot of, huge failures. IT projects were late. Often they would be delivered and not meet customer expectations. They would often overrun in terms of budget, quality, usually quite poor. And of course, because the requirements of the customer were usually quite volatile, the deliverables came and they, for the most part, did not meet the requirements of the client because things had moved on, okay? So which means we need a framework that is much more flexible, that can, capture our changes as we move on, okay? So for IT projects, the waterfall didn't work very well at all. So how did Agile come about? We had a lot of developers who were frustrated because of the, constant failure and cost and, issues they had with the waterfall approach. So they started thinking and, researching other ways in which they could deliver digital product, in other words, IT projects, okay? So some developers concerned came together, in, I think this was in the late 90s and 2000s, to start thinking of better ways to develop software. So because they were already working independently, they had come up with different lightweight frameworks for developing software in their own space, which is why today we have different flavors of Agile framework, okay? So they were already working independently. So in 2001, 17 people from different, software development, arenas came together. They actually took 2 days away, locked themselves up in some resort in Utah because they really wanted to come to some kind of, decision on a better way of working, on a better way of developing software. Now, in that 2 days that they were there, they could not agree on any single framework. Because remember, before they came together to decide on, what's the way forward, they were already working on different frameworks. So they could not agree on a single framework, okay? But however, they came up with the name Agile. Agile meaning flexible, okay? Meaning lightweight, okay? And they formed the Agile Alliance, and we still have that, movement today. But however, the one thing that they achieved was that they came up with a manifesto, okay? They came up with a manifesto and set of principles, okay? So which means it doesn't matter which framework, is in use, as long as they abide with the Agile Manifesto and the 12 principles, that is what truly makes it Agile, okay? Abiding to the, aligning with the manifesto and the 12 principles is what really makes this lightweight Agile, okay? So let's have a look. These are the 17 people that came together and, created the Agile Manifesto and the 12 principles. So here we have Agile as an umbrella term, okay? And like I said before, they were already working on different frameworks. So we have Scrum, we have Extreme Programming, we have Lean, we have Crystal, Kanban. Scrum is the most popular one, okay? Scrum is the most popular. So that's what we're going to use for the simulation of the project. So these are the various Agile frameworks, all aligning with the manifesto and the 12 Agile principles. So this is the manifesto. You might want to take a minute and digest that. We are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. Through this work, we have come to value individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and responding to change over following a plan. That is, while there is value in the items on the right, we value the items on the left more. I will explain. Now, this is the manifesto that they created. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing Scrum or Kanban or extreme programming. What we're saying is we need to respect these values here, okay? These values here. Now, individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Does that mean we don't need processes and tools? Of course not, we do. But we value the communication with people more. So we should be talking to our customers more. We should be collaborating together more. So for example, I'm planning, there's somebody else designing, there's somebody else testing. As a team, we should be collaborating more. Working software over comprehensive documentation. Those of you who are familiar with PMP and Prince2, you will know that it's an environment where we do a lot of heavy documentation, very heavy documentation. In fact, there's so much emphasis on documentation. But how much value does documentation give your customers? Not a lot, okay? What do they really need? Your customers want a working software. They want that website delivered and they want it delivered fast, okay? So it is much more important to get a working product to your customers, okay? So that's what we mean by working software over comprehensive documentation. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. You engage with your customers at the beginning of the project and you don't engage with them again until another 9 months later when you deliver the products, okay? By this time, some of their needs may have changed, which you have not captured, okay? So customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Of course, we still need to sign contracts because we need to get paid. Responding to change over following a plan. We need to constantly engage with our customers so that we can capture any changes that may have happened, especially with the way, especially when we talk about the VUCA world, okay? And as you can see, it says here, uncovering better ways. This is not the end. Uncovering better ways. It is not the end of, the opportunity to keep doing things better. Look at what is happening right now, COVID-19. I mean, because one of the principles if I go to my next slide, one of the principles of Agile is that we work face-to-face, because we all know that face-to-face engagement is much better. But look at what is happening now with COVID-19. So that is why this is always work in progress. And in the last few weeks, the Agile community, everybody's been coming together to see how we can better work remotely, okay? So these are the 12 Agile principles. This one is difficult to read, so I will use this one here, which is much more easy on the eye. We need to satisfy the customer as soon as possible. We need to welcome changing requirements. These are the 12 principles. We need to welcome changing requirements as we walk through our products. We need to deliver working software to our customers. We need to collaborate daily with the business and with ourselves. We need to have motivated individuals working on projects. Because remember, if you have people who are demoralized, you will not get the best out of them. Face-to-face conversation, but hey, we are working remotely today. We need to be able to measure progress. We need to be able to sustain, have a sustainable development. We need to be able to have what we call technical excellence. In other words, we're constantly scanning the environment for new techniques, new way of working, new tools. And it's important that we keep things simple. You're only working on what is really, really essential. And of course, we need self-organizing teams. That is what Agile is all about. We do not want a micromanaging environment. We don't want to have a command and control approach to managing people. We believe in the theory Y approach, that people will do a good job if you create the environment for them. And of course, we need to retrospect, regularly reflecting so that we can continuously improve. This is what Agile is all about. We must retrospect, looking back to say, how was that sprint? So if we were to define Agile, this I believe will do. Agile is a time-boxed, iterative approach to product delivery, enabling the incremental delivery of value from the start of the project until full value is delivered. So it is time-boxed and it is incremental in nature because we want to deliver value as quickly as possible to our customers. Somebody's typed something in the box. Let me see what that is very quickly. Okay, someone's talking about a book by Jeff Sutherland. Yeah, cool. Okay, so time boxing and incremental delivery. When we talk about incremental delivery, it means we have short cycles. We have short cycles. We call them sprints, okay? First sprint, we deliver something. Second sprint, we deliver something. Third sprint, and it goes on and on and on until all the value is delivered, okay? So these are some of the benefits of working the Agile way. We get our products to the market ASAP, as soon as possible. We end up developing the right product. If you remember yesterday, I talked about Ikiwisi. Ikiwisi means I'll know it when I see it. I'll know it when I see it. Now, by delivering that initial minimum viable product to your customers, you are able to make sure or to ensure that you're developing the right product for your customers, okay? And it's easier to engage with your stakeholders because you're meeting frequently, okay? And because you're delivering in a sustainable way, then the chances are you can increase productivity. The chances are you can increase productivity. So what I want us to do now is go back to that case study, and instead of delivering that project with the simulation of a waterfall, let's think about doing it in the Agile way. So this is the same case study. For those who joined us after we read it initially, I'll just give you 1 minute to very quickly read this so that you can catch up. And while you're reading this, what we did was that we delivered a website using the traditional approach, okay? Just, you know, a PowerPoint simulation. So what we want to do now is look at how we can deliver value faster than we did with the waterfall using Agile. Okay, so using the same case study, let's see what we can do. Now this project has been contracted out to a company called Sprint Hub. So Sprint Hub is going to use Agile to deliver this website to LBU. Now, they're going to be using the Agile framework. It will be a 2-week time box. We're going to be using a cross-functional team of 9 people. And in this team, we have the Scrum Master, the product owner, and the development team. Now, when we talk about Scrum, Scrum promotes the use of a small team of about maximum 9 people. And in that team, we have a role called Scrum Master, we have a role called product owner, and we have the development team. These are the people who actually do the coding, okay? Now, the Scrum Master is responsible for ensuring that the team understands the Scrum framework, the Agile the Agile way of working, and that there's the right dynamics going on within the team. Remember, we've talked about lean Agile mindset. As a Scrum Master, you're trying to ensure that we have that kind of environment where there's a positive vibe, there's emotional intelligence, there's psychological safety, and people in this team understand the framework. So that is the role of the Scrum Master. And then also, because we are working in a time box fashion, the Scrum Master is also there to ensure that this time box that the team has to develop this product is absolutely a time of concentration and focus so that they can deliver on their commitment. The product owner, on the other hand, is responsible for value. So the product owner, instead of just talking to the customer the first time and never talking to them again, the product owner is constantly in communication with the customers so that as their needs are changing, the requirements are incorporated into the backlog. You'll soon know what a backlog is. And of course, once this is communicated during the planning, we incorporate that into what needs to be done for the development team. Okay, so these are the 3 roles in a Scrum team: Scrum Master, Product Owner, and Development Team. Now, this is what a typical Scrum framework looks like, or should I say a Scrum cycle, and we call it a sprint. Okay, now we have what we call the product backlog. In this product backlog, we are constantly updating it. The product owner is the one responsible for the backlog, but we are all working on the information on the backlog together. The product owner is constantly talking to the customers and updating this backlog, okay? So the product owner is the one that is prioritizing the items of work in this backlog based on the needs of the customer. Now, in this 2-week cycle, we have what we call the sprint planning, which is when we plan for what we want to do for that 2-week period. We then have the sprint backlog. In this sprint backlog, this is where we have what the development team are going to work on for that sprint. And then we have our 2-week cycle. Remember, it can be 3 weeks, 4 weeks, but I think it is 2 weeks that is most used in the software development environment. So we're going to go for a 2-week sprint. And during that 2-week sprint, we have what we call daily scrum. Daily scrum meaning we're having a 15 minutes meeting every single day, Monday to Friday. Quick meeting to make sure that we are, what's the word now? We are aligned. We know what progress has been made. And if anybody needs help, we communicate that. If there's an impediment, we also talk about that so that the Scrum Master can work on the impediment. The Scrum Master is responsible for removing impediments, okay? As much as possible, the team also will work on their impediments, but when there's need for escalation, the Scrum Master can take it up. So because we are constantly talking on a daily basis, and because we have a product owner that is constantly in communication with the customer, we are, for the most part, quite predictable in what we're going to deliver. So at the end of the 2-week sprint, we have a sprint review. This is when, again, we engage with the customer to show, to demo what we have done so far. To demo what we have done so far. Now, at this point, if there's a problem with the deliverable, then we may go back and rework it. But if there's no problem with it, then it is delivered and it goes live, okay? It is delivered and it goes live. We call it a minimum viable product, and it is an increment, okay? From sprint to sprint, it is an increment. Now, within Scrum, we also have Scrum values. If you remember, I talked a lot about psychological safety, about emotional intelligence. And as you can see here, within the Scrum environment, we're talking about courage, commitment, focus, openness, and respect, because these are the things we need in order to create an environment of safety, okay? These are the things we need in order to create an environment of safety. And of course, the Scrum principles that we need to adhere to, constantly collaborating. It is an empirical environment, okay? It is time-boxed, it is iterative, it is value-based. At any point in time, we must be working on the items of work that delivers the most value. And of course, we're working with self-organizing teams. So if we were to use Agile to deliver this product, this website to LBU, this is what the first MVP would look like. This is what the first MVP would look like. A very minimal, functional landing page, okay? As you can see, this is a very skeletal web page. All we have here is about us and a telephone number. But here's the question. What benefits can LBU get from having a digital presence, albeit just a landing page with information about the university and a contact number? This is an activity I want us to participate in, and I really would like us to all say something, type something, or unmute yourself if you want to say something. What is the benefit here of this landing page, albeit skeletal? Albeit skeletal.
People get to know that they are in existence.
Okay. That's a good one, because now they have a digital presence, okay? Okay, what else?
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, the fact that they have some digital presence means that they can be communicated with online real time and from anywhere in the world.
That is it. Now they have a global presence, okay? Immediate access to contact information, absolutely. So there's a very high chance that in a very short space of time, they would probably have more phone calls, more inquiries, right? Yeah, they can be, yes, contacted immediately. Awareness globally, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, exactly. So if we were to use one word here, it would be that they already have value. We already delivered value to them, okay? So Sprint Hub has already delivered value to this university as opposed to waiting for 9 months. Remember, the first one was going to be delivered at the end of 9 months. But here we are using Agile, using a backlog system, prioritizing the backlog to say, what's the most important thing that you need now? What will add the most value to you immediately? And that is, you know what, even though we can't have everything right now, just give us a landing page. Make sure they, we have about us information there. Make sure our telephone number is there so that they can contact us. And, we can begin to do
But that may be a problem too for some level of clients. You may have a client who just thinks, oh, these people are so skeletal, I don't think I want to deal with them. How about that?
Well, I think you would have to weigh your options, okay? You will have to weigh your options depending on what it is you want to achieve. This is just a simulation to give you an idea of how Agile works in terms of incremental delivery, okay? We can call. I mean, before this, all people did was they saw an advert in the paper and they called. But now you have a much, further reach, global reach. So it's just to explain Agile. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect. I hope that makes sense.
Got it. Got it.
Cool, cool. So value has been added to LBU and they now have a digital presence. Now the next delivery, we now have another tab there. We have admissions, and then the next one again, we add more to it, and then it goes on and on and on until you deliver full value. But the point is, you have delivered value within a month or maybe even within 2 weeks, as opposed to waiting for 9 months. And to answer your question, as we make progress, you will see how this worked for iPhone, okay? So this is the whole point of incremental delivery using Agile. I hope that makes sense. Do we have any questions at this point? Do we have any questions? And if we put that side by side, this is what this picture is communicating. The waterfall meant you waited 9 months to have value. With Agile, because we're working iteratively and working on items that adds the most value to you, you get value in a very short space of time. Thank you, Kuma. So 2 weeks compared to 9 months. If you're a business person, which one would you rather have? If you're running a business, which one would you rather have and why? Which one would you rather? Exactly, Agile, because you want value ASAP and you want it fast. Absolutely. Now, like I already said, Agile is not a silver bullet, but Agile is great when you are working in a very volatile environment where, your requirements can change very quickly. Agile is great for that, okay? Okay, moving on. Talking about MVP, I want you to just imagine for a moment that when Apple decided on this vision for the for their smartphone, for their iPhone, let's assume that their vision was iPhone 188. And then they decided, you know what, this is what we really want to deliver to people. This is our vision, this is our dream, okay? But it will take us 10 years to deliver this. What do you think would have happened to Apple? What would have happened to them? They will not own that market right now. But Apple started with their first MVP. They started with their first MVP. And incrementally, they will deliver new versions of their phone. That is Agile for you. That is what helped iPhone, gain the, dominate the market. Bring out a feature. Bring out a minimum viable product, and we will improve on another version 6 months later or 1 year later, okay, with more exciting and interesting features. So this is the value of working the Agile way, okay? And if we remember, there are some organizations that did not embrace Agile. They did not embrace the lean Agile mindset. Where are they today? Kodak believed that people will still be, printing out films. Meanwhile, they were the first one that started digital when it comes to camera. They should be ruling that space right now, okay? All these companies here, they failed to move fast, okay? They failed to go agile as quickly as possible. And today they have gone into extinction, more or less. And because of agile, because things are changing so fast, because people are looking for experience, not just your product, business models are changing. The hotels predominantly believe they were in the business of just renting out rooms, and the Airbnb has come to take over, okay? Netflix, people believe we will continue to go to cinemas. Hey, we are streaming movies into our homes right now, okay? Uber, London taxis, they were busy sleeping. Uber came over, okay? The traditional banks, they are so big, they are so big that they felt they could never fail, okay? Before they could say Jack Robinson, fintechs were springing up. People could go online, start the process of opening an account online, start the process of requesting applying for a credit card online, and finish that process online without going to the four walls of any bank. So what did the big banks start doing? They started buying the fintech so that they can learn from them. Travel and tourism, everything is done digitally. Education, that's what we're doing right now, okay? Now, so organizations need to see themselves as software companies, okay, as digital. Digital must be a strategy for you as a business. Even if you're a hairdresser, you have a salon, you need to be thinking, okay, how can I get the stories of my satisfied customers on social media? So you can't just be thinking of doing that hairstyle and that is where it ends. No. How can you get that story of that satisfied customer on social media so that you can have more clients? So we need to always think digital. You own a school, how can you leverage on digital? Okay, you have a restaurant, how can you leverage on digital? Because we're talking about customer experience here. There's going to be a lot of need for content creation in terms of customer experience, okay? So business models are changing. Every business must see themselves as, having a digital strategy. So I hope this, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to Agile, but I can only do so much in 1 hour, which is why I use that case study to drive the understanding home. And I expect that, of course, if you want to know more, you'll move beyond this. So I hope the case study has helped in bringing the understanding of Lean Agile together. Can I have you respond to that? Is this coming together for you now as a subject area? Can I have you just in the chat box? How is it for you now in terms of understanding? Are you getting it? So when we talk about traditional approach, when we talk about Agile, is it making sense to you now? Okay, okay. Okay, good. It makes sense to you. I want to be sure that you understand it. Okay, so it's about iterative development. It's about constant communication with the customers. It's about ensuring that we capture changes as they happen. It's about ensuring that we deliver value and we deliver value fast. Okay, so back to my slide. Okay, I want to really emphasize on teams. I talked about teams on the first day. I really want to emphasize on this because Agile work with teams. Individually, we bring a lot of, qualities to the team, but how do we leverage those qualities? How do we leverage the experiences? Because you can just have a group of people that are not necessarily working, as a team. They're just a group of people. So in order for us to ensure there's psychological safety, what do we do? Now, it's so important to understand the Tuckman model of team formation. For me as a coach, when I come into an organization, I want to know where the teams are at. Are they still forming? Are they storming? Are they norming? Are they performing? And the reason this is important is because I need to then know how to coach them through that. So if they are forming, I need to know how to coach them. So if they are at the forming stage, I'm asking questions. Do we have a purpose? Do we have a team agreement? Do we know the different skills that people bring to the table? Who needs to learn something new? Okay, because if we don't do that, then we're just going to kick off the team, and it will be like building a house on a faulty foundation. That is what it will look like, building a house on a faulty foundation. So for the benefit of those, can you mute yourself, please? Let me make sure everybody's muted. Can you please mute yourself? Okay. So for the benefit of those who are responsible for teams here, you really want to ask yourself this question. Did we kick off our team on a faulty foundation, or did we get it right from the beginning? If you didn't get it right from the beginning, then maybe you want to do what I call a reboot, a reset, okay? Go back and look at your team agreement. Do we need to change it? Do we need, or did we even have one in the first place? Maybe we need to create one now. Have a team agreement. Understand the strengths that people bring to the team so that you can leverage that, okay? And come up with what we call your team agreement, and of course do like what we call a competence matrix, so that you know who can do what and who can mentor somebody or teach somebody something, because an agile environment is one of the it's a cross-functional environment. It's an environment where we want to make sure we can do more than one thing, so that if one person is sick, it doesn't become a showstopper. So if I'm a developer, it's important that I also know how to test a little bit, so that when the main tester is not around, I can continue testing. It's not a showstopper. Because remember, we make commitments in an agile environment. We commit to a 2-week sprint, and we want to make sure that we deliver value at the end of that 2 weeks. So as much as possible, we want to be predictable, okay? And if we have predictability, then we can commit, okay? We don't want to commit and then we don't deliver, okay? There's so much more going on in that framework that I showed you, but we haven't got time to talk about it, okay? So, yes, that is bringing me slowly to the end of my presentation. Now, we talked about COVID-19 and how things are changing, and they are changing a whole lot. What can you do to upskill? And that doesn't necessarily have to cost you money, okay? And this is what I love about the digital revolution. We have so much information everywhere. It's up to us how we make time to use them properly. For example, Salesforce, there's something called Trailhead, trailhead.salesforce.com. You can learn a whole lot about Salesforce from there. Salesforce is a CRM software platform, and it is, I think, is the most used CRM right now. Go on there and see what you can learn. Google Garage, Google Digital Garage, there are a lot of free courses there. Cloud technology is going to get bigger and better. Amazon is just smiling all the way to the bank right now, because everybody is online. Organizations are having to work in a distributed fashion. Digital marketing will get bigger and better. It will get bigger and better. Content writing for social media, that's another area. Maybe you know how to write. Maybe you want to explore that, okay? And of course, the role of Scrum Master and Product Owner and Agile Coach, these are the kind of roles you can begin to look at if this is something that interests you in the Agile space, okay? I work as an Agile Coach. And of course, IT in general is going to explode even more, given what we are all experiencing right now. So, what is the take home for you so far? I hope we're good. So let me just go back to the chat box. So far, what is the take home for you in the last 3 days, especially for those of you who have been here in the last 3 days? What is the takeaway for you? If you can just tell me in the chat box, what is the takeaway for you? Are we in the chat box? What's the takeaway for you? And I also want to answer questions if we have any questions. And Ronke, can you unmute yourself and please read out the questions, please? It makes it easy for me.
Okay, I'll read it. Sorry. The first one is by Edith.
Okay.
Where does Six Sigma fit in?
Well, Six Sigma is under Lean, and you have yellow belt, green belt, and black belt. I was never Six Sigma certified. It has to do with Lean. And you can research that more. And there are different levels, like I said. They sort of aligned it with all this karate belt kind of thing. It's about quality. Six Sigma is about quality. It's about minimizing defect. That is what it's about. It's quite an extensive training as well. And there are different levels. So that is more on the lean side. Next question.
Okay. I would like to know how to deliver in a multiple, I don't know. I would like to know how to delivery in a multiple environment. I'm not sure I got that right.
Well, if you want to deliver in a multiple environment, of course, that happens. In big organizations, we have multiple agile teams. We have, 10, sometimes you have some organizations where they have like 20 scrum teams if it's a big team. But it gets complicated because when you now have various teams trying to contribute to a feature or to a solution, then you start talking about agile at scale. This is where we now start talking about transformation, organizational transformation at scale. And you need to have a framework with which to then coordinate all those teams towards delivering a solution. And this is where frameworks like LESS, which is beyond the training I'm delivering today. We have a framework called LESS, which is an acronym for Large Scale Scrum. We have another framework called SAFE, which is Scaled Agile Framework. Now, when you start doing Agile at scale, where you are beyond one team, you have multiple teams, then you need to now have another framework with which you coordinate their deliverables. Next question, please.
I know teams who mix Agile and Waterfall. I don't really understand how that works.
You know teams who mix Agile and Waterfall?
Yes.
Okay, I'll tell you what happens there. What tends to happen is up to the point of capturing the requirements, they are still working the Waterfall way, and then they only work the Agile way for the development. Okay, so some organizations are out there who are still working that way. It works for them, I guess, but it simply means that they are only concentrating on their development team in terms of the Agile way of working. That's what that means. And they call it Wagile, absolutely. They call it Wagile. Anybody else, any question?
Please, can you repeat the list of areas to focus on as mentioned earlier?
Okay. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? Can you see the PowerPoint?
No, we see you.
Oh, you're seeing me. Oh, I see. Okay, let me share the PowerPoint. Just bear with me. Let me share the PowerPoint. Because it is important. I'm sharing my screen again. Can you see the PowerPoint now?
Yes.
Okay. These are the areas that I feel, we can spend time trying to equip ourselves. Salesforce, it's customer relationship management. It's going to only get bigger and bigger. Digital marketing, content writing, social media, content writing for social media, cloud, Amazon Web Services. And if you go online, you will find some, enough training to get you started, so to speak. You will end up having to spend money, obviously. I mean, but you can get started with, working with the free training you will find online. How to be lean in an agile environment. You need to understand an employer's organizational culture first. This will help with understanding what works and what doesn't. Implementing agile will be a lot easier. Okay, this is more or less a comment. Okay, yeah, I mean, lean and agile works together. Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure, Anthony. Any other question, Ronke? And
there was one from
Yewande.
Yewande,
okay.
She was asking about the team working together in a lean in a sprint. Will all members work on just one sprint at a time?
Yes, because you are a team working towards a deliverable, and you're a team of about maximum 9 people, and you're working with a backlog. You remember that backlog I showed you in that cycle? You are working with a backlog, okay? And you are focusing on what will add the most value. If you remember our simulation, we believed that a landing page will add the most value immediately to the university. So we focused on delivering a landing page immediately, as our deliverable at the end of the 2 weeks, okay? So it's about what adds the most value immediately. Okay, so take away, guys. What are you taking away? What are you going to start doing? Whether you're a business owner, whether you're a team leader, whether you know, even from an individual perspective. Why should a team be less than 10? Take a wild guess. It's easier to manage. Once you start having a big team, then managing yourselves, remember, this is a self-managing team. Managing yourselves becomes chaotic. But if it is small, especially when we're in a meeting, we can get through things very quickly. So Agile is in favor of small teams. Okay. Okay. Okay, so as we do that, if you don't mind, if I can ask, if we can have a selfie.
Mary, can I just ask a question? This
yes,
is your
please. Yes.
You know the Scrum team, do they always have to be 9 or they can be fewer than 9?
They can be fewer than 9. I said maximum.
Maximum. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
They can be some go for 10, but you know, you really want to be careful that it doesn't get too big, because
right,
you know, it's easier to manage a small team. So you want to be careful it doesn't get too big. Okay, in terms of communication, managing each other, you know, managing meetings and all of that. Okay,
and
if we need a big deliverable, we'll just form another team.
Another team. Okay.
Form another team. Okay, if you're a Scrum Master, you can manage maximum three Scrum teams. That's fine.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And
So
then you now have to find ways to integrate your work.
All right. So you can move people from one sprint to another. Let's say we use the simulation that we had. All right.
Yeah.
You're building the website, but let's say it wasn't just the website that they needed to build to get the project off the ground. They needed to build the website and they needed to build maybe admission process or something. How would they,
if all you have is one Scrum team, if all you have is one Scrum team, and you are the one working with this university, it's all about priority. What are your priorities this sprint? What are your priorities next sprint? Because remember, you have to constantly concentrate on what adds value. That is why we have a backlog, and that is why we have a product owner who is constantly prioritizing that product backlog. Okay, talking with the customers and prioritizing that product backlog. However, if you have multiple Scrum teams, depending on what the organization is trying to achieve, maybe they are working with the same backlog or separate backlogs. Do you see? It would depend on what you want to achieve. Okay, and how you choose to organize yourself will depend on your context as well. Okay, which is why we call it a framework. It's not well, it looks prescriptive, but it's quite flexible. It's about your context. So, and this is how Agile needs to be applied. Okay, it shouldn't be applied in a dogmatic way. You need to be pragmatic about Agile. What are you trying to achieve as an organization, as a team? Okay, and remember, it's not just about doing Agile, it's about being Agile. And that is why we have all those principles, you know, to guide us, the manifesto, the values to guide us. Okay, it's about being Agile, it's about the mindset, it's about leveraging on the capabilities of the people who work with you. Okay. Okay, I was just going to ask, I want us to do a selfie. In other words, I want to capture the screen. If you don't mind, I want to capture the screen and I want to post it on LinkedIn, because this is what we Agile coaches do. So if you don't mind, I'm going to do that. I'll save that and then do the second one. Bear with me, I've done one and I'm going to do the second one because we have 2 pages apparently. One more. And I'm going to very shamelessly ask you guys to please comment on this when I post it on LinkedIn, please, if you don't mind. Okay, so that is done. So what else do we want to talk about? I'm happy to hang around if you have any, you know, for those who want to leave, that is fine. But I hope that the 3 days we have spent together has been worth your while in terms of time invested, I hope. And if there's any other questions you want me to answer, I'm all yours.
Hi, Mary.
Hi.
So I started this job last week, and I've got 2 Scrum teams, and
Okay.
we're currently working. I mean, I met them at the moment. They are, according to when I had the meeting with some of, I had one-to-ones with some of them. I'm still doing that one-to-one, trying to get to
Okay.
know them. But from my understanding, when I had a meeting with the ADM, he said to me, this particular, I mean, one team is made up of 6 people. The other team is made, because I've got 2 squad. The other one's made up of about 7, which is
Okay.
fine. So they're working. One of the teams we're working on the white label for a renowned pets company,
Okay.
and also the other ones they're trying to sort of reconfigure the previous. I think initially they were supposed to be, they're kind of refactoring that website. I
Okay.
think they had been, okay, in the past, from what I gathered, in the past they had this, let's say the vision of the project was to, okay, we are supposed to build this website for this company and add some functionalities that were not there before. So it
Okay.
was, so when they started, he had started previously. So when they came to them, that was what they told them. But when in reality, okay, whilst they were working on it, there was loads of kind of old fashioned stuff in there, things that just need taking out and then starting all over again. That's by the by, just to give you a brief overview of that project team. Now, the problem with what I've gathered so far from starting and now is, I think the PO is quite less communicative, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
And I am the first Scrum Master, so they've never had a Scrum Master.
Okay.
Now, the sort of people acting as Scrum Masters were the 2 lead tech engineers, and of course, and one of them just got promoted, so she, it's too much for her to take on both roles. Now, I had a meeting with both of them on Tuesday, and from my understanding, it felt like everything was just down to them. So they populate the backlog.
The team populates the backlog.
Absolutely.
Well, as long as, I mean, it is an anti-pattern, because there's a reason we have a product owner. The reason we have a product owner is so that they can engage as frequently as possible with the stakeholders, okay, and make sure they capture their requirements, okay. If there is no product owner, that is an anti-pattern. If, however, there's a business analyst in the team, as a Scrum Master, what I would then request is that they give the BA the mandate to engage with the stakeholders.
Yeah, because they've got one of his squad. Okay, one of his squads got a BA, the other one none. Now, it's like, when someone is sort of like, because from my understanding with the meeting I had with the ADM was, this team, they're mature.
Okay.
From
I think we should take this offline, Prudence. I'm happy to engage with you offline. I think you need help here. Okay.
Cool.
You need help. So let's talk offline. I mean, you and I go way back. Okay. Right. So any other questions? Any other questions at all? Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
I'm interested in the topic, the question she asked. So I don't know where you guys are going to have the
it's going to take a while, and I don't want to keep people here. I can engage you in it. Maybe you have a similar problem. You and I also go way back, so we'll have a meeting together, and then I can help you guys resolve that, because how you respond to these problems, they do matter. But I don't want us to keep people here.
Hello, Mary.
Yes.
I don't know if a lot of people know you as Yellow. Thank you so much for the class.
Thank you. My pleasure.
You and I go way back too. So my question is, how does one now progress? Because these words, Scrum, Agile, are the current buzzwords. And my thinking is that it does make a lot of sense. And post-COVID, the world is going to need a lot of this kind of thinking and this kind of management. So how does one progress as a Scrum Master, product owner, Agile coach, etc.? Thank you.
A Scrum Master, if I were to map it to where we're coming from, would be your project manager. And a business, a product owner would be somebody who works with the business. So somebody who really understands the business, has domain knowledge. Because you see, it's important to know exactly what you want to do and what you want to get into. You don't just want to do stuff because people are doing it. Okay? So ask yourself, are you somebody who really understands business domain? Is there a particular business domain in which you're really, really strong? Then if that is the case, maybe you want to be a product owner. If you have very strong project management skills, then a Scrum Master might be good also. But then you have to know that you have a lot of work to do in terms of your mindset, because you cannot come with your Prince 2 and PMP way of working as a project manager and bring that into the Scrum Master or Agile domain. You can't. You're going to encounter a lot of anti-patterns and create a lot of anti-patterns with your mindset, okay? If that's what you want to do, you think Scrum Master is the way to go, all you have to start doing is do what I call self-directed learning. Before I spend money on any certification, I train myself. I can categorically tell you that before I walk into any certification exam, I've done 90% of the work on my own. Because there's so much out there, Caroline. You and I know that, okay?
Yeah.
There's so much on YouTube. There's so much on LinkedIn. We just need to make the time, okay? I taught myself Agile. I only just then got ready to take the certifications, okay? So first of all, ask yourself, what line, what path am I interested in? And do some research on your own. I mean, I partner with Scrum Studies. So people actually take Scrum Master and Product Owner certifications through my company, okay? Because I've already partnered with a certifying body. But I always say to people, know what it is you want first and do your own homework first before you go spending money, okay? And then Agile Coach, of course, it's like your organizational consultant, okay? It's 80% of what we do as Agile coaches is, or should I say 70% of what we do as Agile coaches are things we've been doing as organizational development consultants. Okay?
Okay,
cool.
Thank you,
Any other
Mary.
question? Any other question at all? Okay. Remember I talked about employee agility. I'm going to upload all 3 videos on YouTube, okay? And the channel is called Employee Agility. And I also have a Facebook group called Employee Agility if you want to continue to engage with me, okay? Can I send you follow-up email? Of course you can. Feel free. You have my email. If you want to ask questions, feel free and send me an email or engage with me on my group. Like I said, I have a mission. And my mission is to get people to come into this Agile space, if only for the mindset. If only for the mindset. There's just so much, that we can benefit from walking that way. As an individual, there's something to gain. As a business owner, there's something to gain, okay? And I'm always happy to answer your questions offline. So if there are no other questions, I think we can call it the day. Please, I'm going to post this on LinkedIn. Kindly comment on it, your experience, whatever. I mean, I'm shamelessly asking for that because I'm a coach looking for work. So please do that. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm going to stop recording now, but we can continue talking. So please go ahead with any more questions you may have.